Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing well. I didn't make a video in the last 7 days or so because I knew that in the last week you should probably be focusing on your preparation solely and not be worrying about anything else. But I wanted to wish you the very best before your exam and share about what kind of a mindset you should have for the exam and a couple of things that you can probably take care of before you step into the examination hall. So here's this video on what your mindset for CAT 2021 should be, but watch it with an ease mindset, like don't worry a lot. At the same time, let's discuss a couple of important things. So the first thing I would want to say to each and every one of you is to congratulate you for taking this endeavor of preparing for the CAT exam. It is in itself a courageous effort that you have put in, you've prepared, so a pat on your back for yourself that you have worked so hard and you have reached this level. Just acknowledge the fact that you've done a lot. I know that the general mindset is that I've not done a lot or I'm yet to finish, and it'll always feel like that. You will never feel satisfied. That's the beauty of this exam because there's no limit to how much you can prepare for it. So acknowledge the fact that you've worked really hard and appreciate yourself for it. Now, coming to the point that's going to make the biggest difference in your D Day performance, the more calm and composed you are on that day, the more you'll be able to recollect yourself and all the formulas and tricks that you have learned and apply them during the exam. You'll be better at decision making at that point of time if you have a calm and composed mindset. So, I've been watching a lot of F1 races recently, and something that I've noticed among the best drivers, the ones who land at the podium at the end of the race, is that they always have a calm mindset and they are able to take the best decisions on the race day, which is something that you are also required to do during your exam day. And in order to do that, if you would have seen any F1 race, you would have seen them listening to songs or listening to meditation music or calming themselves before the race. That's something that I would also encourage you to do. So either meditate a few minutes before the exam or take a few deep breaths. That's also a strategy that's recommended to F1 drivers before they begin their race. So make sure that you know how to calm yourself down during the exam or before the exam so that the strategy in your mind is clear. The next point that I would recommend you to follow is to visualize your attempt strategy. By now, you would know what strategy is going to work the best for you. That is, in what order you would want to attempt the questions in a particular section, how much time would you want to give to scanning the questions, and how much time would you want to spend on solving the questions. So now you need to visualize that strategy in your mind for each and every section before taking the final exam so that even if there is a moment wherein panic sets in and you go blank for a couple of minutes, the unconscious mind helps you take up the task that you're supposed to even though your conscious mind is blank at the moment. So for example, for DILR and VRC, I always had a strategy of scanning the questions just when the exam or the section started. Now, irrespective of whether I am not feeling all right at the moment, I knew that I had to spend the first 1 or 2 minutes in scanning the questions. For QA, I had a round strategy that I've talked about in another video. I knew that I had to take that up. So I knew my strategy. Even if there was a moment when panic would set in or something would happen in the examination hall, I would know what I'm supposed to, and hence my automatic mind or my unconscious mind would take up that charge. So that's something I would recommend you to do to visualize your strategy. I mentioned about the examination hall, so that's an important point I would say here. A lot of people worry that their test center is not in the best condition, or that whether or not they're going to get the sheets in order to the rough sheets in order to take up the calculations. These are things that you should not worry about. That's not your pain. That's for the test center to manage. You will be given a computer system that would be working, and God forbid, everything would be all right on that day. So don't worry about these external factors. You would get ample amount of sheets. You should carry your own stationery, your admit card, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, assume that the system would be all right. And if people around you, the ones who are sitting on left and right, are making any noise during the exam, whether it's reading out the RC is allowed or anything of that sort, you can simply request them to not do that, so that you don't get interrupted, or even before the exam begins you can just interact with them and ask them if they read out the RCs aloud, and request them not to do it if that's the case. And I think people would oblige, and in general most cat aspirants don't speak out the RCs aloud, so that's understandable, and that should not be any problem. At the same time, a lot of people worry if people sitting left or right would cheat during the exam. You should not worry about that at all. There are these, I don't know what to call them, but there are these sheets on your left and right that make it difficult for any person to cheat during the exam hall. I'll present a picture in front of you to make it clear. So don't worry about these things as well. After thinking about the examination hall, I am remembering another point which is of importance. There will be some formalities that you'll need to take up before your exam begins. For example, the checking that takes place, and everything of that sort. What I would say is that at that point, a lot of people have this tendency of chatting with the other cat aspirants, and everybody's in that anxious panic mode. So they end up talking about the predictions of the exam, how much they've prepared, where they took their coaching from, etc., etc. And even after your exam is going to end, a lot of people are going to talk about which section was difficult, and whether or not what the cutoff will be, and whether or not they are going to clear the exam, and all those sorts of things. Personally, because I was an introvert, but I'm not sure if that would work for everyone. What I would recommend is to not indulge in a lot of these conversations because they drain your energy. I'm not sure if that's true for the extroverts as well, but I personally kept myself out of such discussions because they sort of distracted me or discouraged me from taking the exam with the best of my potential. So I would suggest you to enter the examination hall with a fresh mindset and to come out of it with no regrets. Like, just go back to your home and sleep peacefully now that you are done with the exam that you've been preparing for so long. Don't indulge in any unnecessary conversations that would drain your energy. And I mentioned about sleep, which makes me remember an important point, that before your CAT exam, you should take ample amount of time to, complete your sleep. You should not be, last moment solving questions late night. Sleep on time. And regarding solving questions, what I would say is in the last 2 days, I would not recommend you to take any mock or to solve a lot of questions. I would rather suggest you to revise your formula book. That's something that you can still take up, but at the same time, don't start off with a new section or a weaker section. Don't worry about your preparation. The time is over. Now it's time to perform. And hence, taking everything that you have, all the weapons or equipments that you have, go into the examination hall and deliver the best that you can with whatever you have learned so far. The final point regarding the exam is that every section is equally important. A lot of people end up making this mistake of not clearing the sectional cutoffs. Remember that for most organizations, for most institutes, you would be required to clear the sectional cutoffs, and hence every section is like an individual paper, and if you treat them so, you would be able to deliver your best. So irrespective of how your previous section went, whenever the next section appears on the screen, start afresh and think of it as a new paper and go ahead with that mindset. The final point that I would say is that we have been together in this journey for so long. I pray for each and every one of you success, and I hope that you perform your optimum best. You have no regrets after coming out of the examination hall. And we would surely keep a Zoom call later for all the CAT 2021 aspirants, just in order to discuss how your paper went and just in order to celebrate your hard work. Irrespective of how your paper goes, I would pray that you have a happy face at the end of the day. You have worked really hard, and at the end of the day you should be really proud of yourself. All the very best to each and every one of you, and if there's anything that you would want to talk about, feel free to drop me a comment below. Thanks guys, all the best.